Welcome into The Fade. I'm Clay Travis. She is Kelly Stewart, a.k.a. Kelly in Vegas. One of us had a winning weekend in college football, and I don't think it was her. It was me. But I'm always humble about things. Never want to draw attention to how right I was about Miami and how wrong she was. Just not my kind of thing that I would do right off the jump. Kelly, let's jump right in because we try to get this out fast. NFL is returning tonight. Cowboys are an 8.5-point underdog, most recently when I checked, against the Eagles. I actually bet the Cowboys because that feels like a huge number to me, and I may well look like a moron if the Eagles come out and win by double digits and blow the Cowboys out like I would expect the majority of people expect to see. But this number is so high. These are divisional rivals. They know each other well. I know Micah Parsons is gone, but it feels to me like value is on the Cowboys here. Are you in agreement with me? Are you avoiding? What's your take on the opening game?
You know, it's tough. You've got Dak Prescott against the NFC East in his career when he's been healthy. And the guy's great. 33-8 straight up, 29-12 against the spread. That has to account for something. I think a lot has been made about Dallas and their drama during the offseason. You've got the Super Bowl winner tonight. They're going to hang the banner. You'd like to think they aren't going to lose in that situation. But boy, is it hard not to like the 8.5 with Dallas. I teased Philadelphia early in the week. Bunch of good teaser spots. Technically, the total's a little too high to tease them with the Lions, but I did think you could tease them with a lot of the other home 2.5-point underdogs. I teased them with the Ravens, which is no longer available. But I do expect Dak Prescott and this Cowboys defense to be able to keep it close. Philadelphia to ultimately get the win. I even sprinkled a couple of my survivor picks on Philadelphia, which goes against some of my rules. I usually don't like to play in primetime, and I usually don't like to play divisional rivals. But I also know that if Philadelphia were to lose, I'll just rebuy back in. Then there's a lot of dead money in the pool, and it is what it is.
All right, so that's tonight. Best game of the weekend in the NFL, I think, is also a good game to bet. In my opinion, best game. Ravens-Bills. And this is one, Kelly, that doesn't happen that often where different books have different teams favored. Like I've actually been watching this. I got plus 1.5 on the Bills as the home underdog, but some places have the Bills as a 1.5-point favorite. Again, you just don't see this kind of variation that often. I love Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I realize I might be the only person in America who has that take. I think both of these guys are fun to watch. I like them as individuals based on what their public persona seems to be, with the knowledge that we don't know any of these people most of the time in real life. I'm on the Bills. My hoped for Super Bowl matchup is the Bills against the Lions. Probably is not going to happen, but I think it's what America needs. But I like the Bills to win this game against the Ravens. I think it's the Sunday night football game. To me, it's the best game out there. There are other good ones. Chiefs-Chargers, not a bad one either. But what say you? Do you have a take on this one?
Clay, how can you not love Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? I think that is not a hot take at all. I think both of these guys are great quarterbacks. Both guys have a lot of grit. Last year, these two played. Baltimore just smacked the Bills around their home 35-10. And then, of course, the Bills got the one that mattered there in the playoffs, which still pains me because I had a futures bet for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. Here's the reality. You should not be betting a bad number in this game. As I mentioned, I got Baltimore plus 1.5. I put them in a teaser to get them up over that touchdown. I may go other side because I think this is going to be a really close, low-scoring game. 6 of the last 8 games have went under the total. 1 ended up on a push. I think this is going to be a tight margin of victory. I get it. Betting against either one of these quarterbacks is never fun, but this is going to be the game of the week. Everybody's going to want to bet it. So I'm just going to tease both sides, sit back, and hope it's like a 24-21 final.
All right, let me give you my picks. That's 2. I've got all these up. I do the OutKick 6-pack. They're all going to be up by Thursday every week. Chargers plus 3 points. I've got the Redskins, who I'm going to continue to call the Redskins for the rest of my life. I've got them as a 5.5-point favorite. I like them. I've got the Steelers to win on the road against the Jets. Bengals to get it done. They started off really bad defensively and really slow last year. I think they start off cover the 5.5 on the road against the Browns. Dolphins, road underdog. I think they should be favored against the Colts. I've got the Dolphins. And your Broncos, I have blowing out my Titans. We don't know what to expect from Cam Ward. That is all my NFL picks. What are your favorite NFL picks for the weekend? What are you leaning on? What are you excited about?
Of course, I'm also going to join you on the Chargers there tomorrow night. Who doesn't love playing against the Super Bowl loser? And my good friend Mark Lawrence put out this stat, and I thought this was wild. 12-0 against the spread since 1988. If you play against the defending Super Bowl loser as an underdog or a favorite of 8 or fewer points in game 1, if they are facing a divisional opponent, it's happened 12 times. It's a perfect 12-0. How can you not love the Chargers here on a neutral site? Let's see what Jim Harbaugh has got cooked up. Hopefully it seems a little bit more healthy than we saw there in the offseason. But I do like the Chargers there with you. Let's go to that Denver Broncos team. I played them in almost every single Survivor, and I hate that. I follow a couple of projection websites, Clay, and I've seen upwards of 30% of the entire pool, 35% of the entire pool, and some of these larger Vegas contests and some of the ones that I'm in on Splash picking the Broncos. Look, if Cam Ward, a rookie quarterback, beats me on the road and the Broncos lose that game, so be it. I have just succumbed to that being the reality. As I mentioned, I played a couple of Eagles there on my Splash pool tonight just to give myself a few alive ones. Or if they lose, I'll rebuy back in. But my buddy CT and I are in a $5,000 Survivor League. I called him today. I said, hey, we're going to take the Broncos. I know I'm a Broncos fan. This is a game the Broncos should absolutely dominate. And if they don't, it is what it is. Cam Ward beat me enough times last year. What's going to be one more? But the other reality is I don't trust the Patriots. I don't trust the Rams. I'm damn sure not taking Arizona on the road. I like the Giants +6 this week. I think they can actually beat the Commanders. So those are kind of my options as far as the NFL slate goes. But as I mentioned to you, I wussed out. I took a ton of teasers this week. You can tease Seattle. You can tease the Lions. You can tease, I already said Detroit. You can tease the Broncos down below a field goal. I'm a little against you here on Cincinnati. I want to like Cleveland so bad with Joe Flacco being back under center for this Browns team. There's been a lot of chatter about how bad the Browns are. Joe Burrow just 1-4 straight up in his first 5 seasons in game 1. I don't trust them on the road. Another team in the Saints. How bad are the Saints team? How bad are they? Bad enough that they should be getting almost a touchdown at home to Arizona. Ooh, looks chalky. I don't think I have the guts to take the Saints either. Week 1, the joke is nobody knows anything, right? Well, we're going to find out leading up to this week, but we know there's a few really good teams. I think the Vikings are going to be much improved. If I was in the business of laying road chalk, I would be doing it on Monday night in Chicago.
Cam Ward, let me just put this out there. I don't know that there has ever been less discussion about a number 1 overall quarterback draft pick than Cam Ward. And my argument is, and I think it's accurate, but my argument would be that's because Shedeur Sanders, starting on draft weekend, soaked all the quarterback draft take oxygen up. I feel as if there is a huge void. I don't even think it's been hardly covered. I have no idea. I'm a Titans fan. I've been a season ticket holder my whole life that the Titans have been in Nashville. Kelly, I have no idea what to expect from Cam Ward. Moreover, I haven't even seen that much coverage surrounding Cam Ward. I have never, and partly it's the Titans, I get it, because Nashville's not a huge market. But I think Shedeur soaked up most of the quarterback draft take oxygen, and nobody has even given me a take on Cam Ward. It's as if he doesn't exist.
That is a really interesting thought process because we haven't heard much about Cam. And frankly, I don't think it's so much as Cam would beat the Broncos as the Broncos would beat themselves. I do have some thoughts about Bo Nix in his sophomore year. I do think Sean Payton is a solid defensive coach. Broncos should absolutely dominate if Bo Nix doesn't throw 2 picks or even a pick six or something crazy. Look, again, I don't love laying over a touchdown in the NFL, but this game looks to be blowout written all over it. I will think that Cam Ward will have one of those kind of seasons. Look, let's talk about Jaden Daniels last year. I bet against him week 1. I said the Bucs were my best bet. It's tough for a rookie quarterback to go there on the road, and he ended up being just fine. Would any of us be shocked to see the Titans win 6 or 7 games this year? I don't think so.
All right, let's go into college football unless there's something else on the NFL that we haven't hit. The NFL slate, this is a week 2 college football lineup, all right? Just in terms of storylines, matchups, by far, I think the most interesting and will be most watched game is Michigan on the road against Oklahoma. I have got Oklahoma. I think the Sooners are going to win this game by double digits. I don't believe that that this young Michigan team is actually good enough to go on the road against Oklahoma. I think this is a rare opportunity where Brent Venables can make Sooner fans think he's the guy. They've been building up to this the entire offseason. I think that Oklahoma is better than they are getting credit for. I think that Michigan is very similar to the team that we saw last year, which came in pretty hyped and then rapidly gave up the ghost, so to speak, on their elite team title perspective with the whipping that they got from Texas in week 1. Now I think they're going to get run in week 2. This number has bounced around a lot. I've seen Oklahoma down to like a 3.5 point favorite some places. I put my picks in earlier this week, but I have got Oklahoma right now as a 4.5 point favorite. I think that they win by double digits in what I believe is the biggest game of the week. What say you, Kelly?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the biggest game of the week, and I don't understand it. I don't make the schedule, but man, I would hope Brent Venables is ready for Bryce Underwood and company. I wasn't overly impressed with him last week versus New Mexico, but again, it's New Mexico. Could this be a more defensive game? Quite possibly. I wish that I had a better take here other than I don't trust Brent. I just don't. I've seen enough from this Oklahoma team in his, few short years in Norman to be less than impressed. And I think Sooners fans would probably agree with me here. I also don't like to hype up a Big Ten team who is very young, who spent a ton of money on NIL and is getting a lot of hype early in the season. I am kind of curious to see why all this Michigan money is coming in. Guys I know ended up laying early money, like you said, 4.5, 5 even with Oklahoma. To see this one drop down tells me there may be people with bigger bankrolls than me that have a bigger opinion here on Michigan. But remember, Clay, too, sometimes in the betting markets, whether it's Vegas, whether it's a national market, we see a ton of public perception money come in. And look, if you're a big market team, you're a Texas, you're in Alabama, you're in Michigan, you're in Ohio State, those are going to garnish some big time bets, whether they're sharp or not. And the books are going to have no option but to be forced to move the number. Michigan buying quarterbacks, huge NIL money. Who's to say they aren't throwing around $500,000 bets here on the money line, dropping that number down? I haven't heard of anything significantly, at least not early enough in the week, but it wouldn't shock me in the slightest.
I want to get your take on this because I think North Carolina is going up against Charlotte. I'm betting on Charlotte, but not your gambling take. Kelly, I am 46, okay? In 3 years, I will be 49. That is how old Bill Belichick was when his girlfriend was born, okay? So that is me adding 3 more years. That is how old Belichick was, 49, when his current girlfriend was born. Before we get into the gambling side, how much of an age gap from your perspective do you think is too much? Now, you lived in Vegas. You have seen a lot of old dudes with a lot of young girls. I would bet Vegas is probably the old dude, young girl capital of America. What is an age gap that makes you say, nope, I can't do it, I will not sign off on it? And I'm generally curious. I have no idea what your answer to this is going to be. Is it different now than it was when you were 22 and you worked at Vegas. How would you analyze this?
Oh boy, did we have this discussion last night at happy hour. Look.
Everybody is talking about this, by the way. This is why I think 6 million people watched UNC TCU. But I want to get your take today as a grown woman and what your take was when you were 22 as a recent college graduate. I just want your take. I'm just sitting back. I have no idea what the answer is.
You know, I would like to say I'm really young at heart. And so I don't even want to date a guy my own age. My boyfriend's 5 years younger than me, and I get a lot of grief to this day about it. We laughed last night at happy hour. Like, okay, if you guys split up, you know, what would you do? And I said, I think it's the two extremes. I think it's the 80-year-old guy with the yacht that wants nothing but like a piece of arm candy and to go to nice dinners, which is doesn't exist. Or it's the 25-year-old, because I want to go out. I still want to have fun. And if I have to be now the sugar, right, provider of the, or the daddy of the sugar, then, you know, at least you better get something that's super attractive. Now I'm bright red and laughing because this is how I was cracking up last night with some of my close girlfriends about this. I could never. There's just no way. Maybe I'm too superficial. Maybe money does not matter to me that much. I don't know what Bill provides. I'm not sure. And, you know, it's just not really my thing. I have a couple of girlfriends who date guys that are 10 or 15 years older than them. And I just kind of look and I'm like, I don't understand it. No offense, Clay. I think I would have to say my age would be very close to me being like, no. I think it all depends on what the other person wants in life too.
I don't begrudge anybody making any choice that makes them happier. I don't know what Belichick is thinking here. And I mean that with like, he's 74. I see what she's thinking. I think she's thinking like, hey, he's super rich. You know, maybe you this is the challenge. So like, I'm 46. I would like to think that I have 20 good years where I can travel anywhere. I hope 30. I hope 40. But I know I feel very good about like, hey, I'm going to have 20 good years, right? Where I can go anywhere. I can, go on trips. I can be fun. What does Belichick have? 6 at the absolute apex. Now he's doing well for his age. Like, she'll be 30 dating an 80-year-old. Like, that doesn't, like, the math, other than her being the ultimate gold digger, none of this makes sense to me from her perspective, in that if she's actually interested. Anyway, like, I have so many takes on this.
I think our dads are similar in age. If my dad brought home a woman that was even 1 year younger than me, I think I would be like, what are you doing? Like, as long
you would let him have it.
No, I don't have it. Again, you want somebody to be happy, but I think I would be like, okay, give me everything. We're putting it all in a trust. There's going to be, you cannot get married to this person. You cannot let her have access to anything financial. Like, I think I would just like, give me the keys of the car and enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think this is a huge part of people reacting. Okay, let me hit you with some picks, by the way. All of these are up. I got a bunch. I'm taking Texas as a big bounce back winner. Iowa State is probably the best game in terms of an actual rivalry going on. I'm taking Iowa. Usually I take the under in this game. I'm taking Iowa State minus 2.5. I know that number has bounced around the 3. I got 2.5. I'm taking Ole Miss to blow out Kentucky. You are from this area. Kansas, Missouri is a massive rivalry that a lot of people don't think about. Literally comes out of bleeding Kansas, the battles during the Civil War. These states have hated each other for hundreds of years nearly. I'm taking Mizzou there, and I'm taking Clemson to cover a big number. Some of this is narrative-based. Clemson was bad offensively, so was Texas. I think they come out guns blazing, proverbially speaking, to get these big wins. What say you?
Well, one of us is going to have a good weekend again, Clay, because we're opposite again. I like Iowa plus the 3.5. Kirk Ferentz, 6-0 in their last 6 in Ames. I like this Iowa defense. Rocco Brecht, hey, kudos to him. He hasn't thrown a pick all season long so far, but One is coming, and I think it's against Kirk Ferentz's defense. I think this Hawkeyes team is getting really undervalued, and Iowa State beats up on Kansas State. Thought they'd have a letdown spot last weekend. Nope. Smack South Dakota right in the mouth. Visiting team in this series, 10-2 straight up and 8-4 against the spread. I can't help but take over a field goal with the Hawkeyes. I'm on Kansas. Look, the transfer from Penn State, whose name escapes me right off the top of my head, for Mizzou, looked really good after Horn got hurt last week versus Central Arkansas. But I don't know. I think this Jayhawks defense is going to put a lot of pressure on him. Linebacker Trey Lathan is going to be gunning for his head all day. I think if Kansas doesn't beat themselves by turning the ball over in the red zone, which is the most frustrating thing this team has been doing over the last 2 years, I think they can go into Columbia and win this game. You mentioned you like Ole Miss. Why? Is it the revenge factor or what?
I don't think that Kentucky can score. I think they've lost their playmakers. They lost Barry and Brown. I'm not sold on Kentucky at quarterback. I think this is a good example of a team that does not translate well to the NIL era. Kentucky has been spending money on basketball. They've lost a lot of football talent as a result. And so I think if you look at this, the revenge factor, I think, is real for Lane Kiffin. I think that Ole Miss is going to come out and blow them out. I think this will be like a 35 to 13 style beatdown.
I took the 10. Here's the reality. I don't think you can quantify revenge, and I think a lot of people make a big deal out of it, and it's really overhyped. 3 of the last 4 meetings for these two teams, 3 points or less. I like Mark Stoops and the defense. You're right. I do have some question marks here from the offensive side of things. We're going to see how it plays out, but Lane Kiffin, since he's been at Ole Miss, 1-4 straight up, 0-5 against the spread in his SEC openers. I think Kentucky is live here. They can get a couple of things to go their direction. I'm not sure Ole Miss is quite as good as everybody is hyping them up to be this season. We're going to find out.
I took a bunch of underdogs, by the way. MTSU, huge underdog. Middle Tennessee State at Wisconsin. South Florida, huge underdog, 17.5 at UF. I like what Alex Golesh has built there. South Florida whipped Boise. They've had extra time to get ready since then. Army lost to Tarleton State. I think I didn't even know what state Tarleton was in. Texas, by the way, is the answer.
Texas.
I thought it was Maryland. Yeah. I mentioned earlier Charlotte. All 4 of those are big underdogs. You usually like underdogs. Do you like any of those? Do you like any college football underdogs this week?
I'm against you yet again on a couple of these. Look, I went to Kansas State. I'm not betting Kansas State this week. But let me tell you, there's been some interesting locker room talk. Army lost basically their entire O-line and has been in complete disarray. K-State has a real opportunity here to right the ship. Last week was abysmal versus North Dakota. I begged them to fire the entire coaching staff. Nobody listened to me. Shocker. I think K-State has to come out in a big way. And if they are only up 3 scores, they're going to absolutely pour it on. That's kind of the thing that scares me about the cover. I don't think that they're going to be able to take their foot off the gas whatsoever. And I'm on Florida, Clay. I saw that USF game. I took the 6.5, 0 money line dollars, and they just whooped Boise State. Could they have looked any better? I'm high on this Florida Gators team. I got to watch a little of the LIU game that doesn't really matter, but a lot of those guys were rested. They didn't play the second half. I look for Florida Gators and Billy Napier to absolutely throttle USF.
What do you? By the way, I've got the over in Vandy, Virginia Tech, which is an interesting game. Last year was kind of the beginning of the Diego Pavia era at Vanderbilt. I like the over in that game. That line right around a point or a 2. What else do you like in college football this weekend?
Yeah, I know the Miami fans got really mad at me on this program particularly, but the Utah fans got mad at me on another one. UCLA looked awful. You were probably sitting back very happy that Nico just couldn't get.
I stayed up till 2 a.m. Eastern, just living it up, watching Nico get lit up. Dampier looked really good for Utah, and that was one that I got right.
Yeah, I think UNLV is getting a little overhyped here. This is not a UNLV team that should only be a 2.5 point underdog. I made the game 5. So laying 2.5 with UCLA is on my long list. I haven't done it just yet. I've got to kind of see what really happened. Was it more of just a disappointing week one against a good Utah defense? I mean, 11 to 22, 136 yards, just abysmal. Maybe he needs a little bit more time to get his legs underneath him, but this is a very winnable game for UCLA. Go there in Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play and beat up on a UNLV team getting just a little bit too much love here in the marketplace.
All right, Kelly, good stuff. I've got a marketing meeting for my new book, Balls, so that is where I am going. And then I am going to a 9th grade football game. Wild day here. I'm sure you're going to be watching the Eagles-Cowboys tonight. What game are you most excited for in college football if you could only bet one? And closing out, what game if you could only bet one in the NFL?
If I could only bet one, I would bet Kansas plus 6.5 at Columbia. I think that's going to be a dogfight of a game. I wish they could both lose from a fan perspective, but hopefully it's the Tigers that ends up losing outright. And KU doesn't beat themselves with a red zone turnover. For the NFL, I'm very excited for Sunday Night Football. As you mentioned, love me some Josh Allen, love me some Lamar Jackson. I think that is going to be a great game there in Buffalo. And there's no reason why anybody should have a bad number on that game. Like to shop around, look at the odds screen, get the 1.5, no matter what side you're on.
Tap the veins, blood bank guarantee for me. Oklahoma is going to beat Michigan by double figures. Get rich, kids. Blood bank guarantee. OU, Boomer Sooner for the double-digit win over the Wolverines. Don't tell my wife. Kelly, I will see you next week. This has been The Fade. Go follow Kelly. Be nice to her in the mentions because she can't win as many games as I can. I'm on a roll. Let's keep it going. I'll see you guys next week.